Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday night panel at the Music City Multi-Con with Whitney Roberts. No, with Billy Mitchell. Yeah. So I'm Brent Griffith, co-host of the Broken Token Classic Gaming podcast, and that is...
I'm Whitney Roberts, the other co-host of said podcast. So we appreciate everybody spending your time here with us this evening. And so we've got, looking here at the watch, we've got roughly 30 minutes or so to spend here with Mr. Mitchell and hear everything that he's been up to since, gosh, Billy, this is the first conference I think that probably all three of us have been to since COVID. So
it certainly has.
Yeah.
And Billy, is this your first?
This is actually my first post-COVID
appearance.
Event,
Yeah. Okay. We all finally made it back out.
Yeah. Now I've done an arcade grand opening, minor stuff, visiting friends, but the actual schedule an event, and just to be honest, take a group who's gonna step forward first, take the incentive to take that risk. It's been awesome.
Yeah, good.
So Billy, I know a couple other cons have kind of kicked off, some pinball events, some gaming events. Have you seen his demand for your time? I mean, we were very fortunate to get you here. Have you noticed that are folks looking for the Billy Mitchells of the world? Have you been asked for other events?
Yes,
Are we coming back?
To tell you a short story here, I was contacted about 4 months ago in regards to this event. Then, about a month after that, I got contacted for an event in Chicago that I never miss, ever. And I said, you didn't have anything scheduled, so I scheduled something. I said, it's in Nashville. It's that weekend. And naturally, I was told, I go, no. I can't do that. I can't uncommit. Why? And I go, no. I can't. I know you guys might find it hard to believe with the fun persona I play, but I never wanted to be that guy. And I just said, I said, I can't. And usually I have a small group of people. We have fun. We talk about the history of gaming. Small group of people in tow, so to speak. Well, I'm here by myself because they're all there and I'm here alone. Well, excuse me. I didn't mean I'm here alone.
No, we understand.
But anyway, so that's how this happened. And so it's good that this got scheduled early. And it's also good that a relationship's established. So nobody's going to scoot in front of Music City Con. They're not going to.
So in terms, you speak of relationships. And I know, Billy, this has been a big thing for you. And I think we really need it now in the hobby, in the con community. And that is support of one another. And I'll dare I say it, a cross promotion to a degree to help. I say is kickstart.
Yeah, I guess kind of rebuild the momentum that we had going on before March 2020 took place, because with COVID, everything just shut down hard. I mean, all the shows for the rest of 2020 canceled. Very few shows through 2021 have actually happened leading up to now. So. Yeah, I mean, Billy, have you found that people are willing to do that and willing to work with you and work with Walter and stuff on schedule and timing and everything like that?
People are absolutely willing to. What they said is that last year, although there wasn't a show, they still got hit with the expenses. The venues still charged them money. Therefore, the money they had was near zero. And I said to one place, I'll just come there and spend the weekend and, I'll take care of the hotel and all, because we've worked together all them years. I don't want it to be defined by 1 year. And that was exactly what other people, like you say, Walter said as well. I won't lie to you, by the same token, when you treat somebody like that, when you extend yourself like that, you let them know you're damn sure that they're going to remember that.
Yeah.
Because, again, you want the relationship to continue. And you have to realize that you're not the only one that's suffered through this. I did have good fortune. I did some online events. If you remember, the show in Atlanta was online. And I did one in London, so I didn't have to go to London. And so I did have some good fortune, but not nearly as I normally do.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that you had done online events. It was, I guess, a situation similar to this, other than you were Skyped and projected and you talked to the audience, or did you play a game and stream it?
I did both. I played a game, I streamed it, I did panel discussions. It just came over the internet. I mean, it's horrible. It's not nearly as personable. Mm-hmm. It's the interaction with people, which is what I think I can speak for all of us that we enjoy so much here. Actually, to sit there and answer questions that somebody types, and then the person hosting the stream speaks, that's But it's the only thing that was available.
Yeah.
And if it kept everybody's interest, then it was worth it to suffer through that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say about 4 different events that were actually streamed online. There were others that just thought it wouldn't be advantageous. They didn't think it would do very well. It didn't do very well. None of them did.
Yeah.
But it did better than doing nothing.
It did better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. From a planning perspective, how has this pause affected your plans for 2022, 2023, and so on? I mean, are you going to pick back up with kind of where you left off with the break in COVID, or has this pivoted to change your plans? I guess how's the past 18 months affected what you're planning on doing next?
Well, the easiest example was in 2020. Mm-hmm. I was supposed to go back to the Tokyo Game Show.
Okay. So is there significance in that from a date or like an anniversary or an event perspective?
Yes. Well, Masaya Nakamoto, who was considered the godfather of video games, he passed away. And to go there and do an event in honor of him, to do an achievement, was exactly what I was going to do. And that was in 2020. So then when it didn't happen, it's just, okay, well, we're just going to do it in 2021. Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
And that's surely nothing I want to do except in person on stage. Right. So now it's pushed to 2022. Does that mean that 2022 is going to be the busiest year because it's a normal year plus you're making up for all that you missed? I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah.
But if it's 2022, if it's 2023, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to go there. I'm going to honor him. I'm going to achieve what I want. I'm simply not going to not do it. That would be very defeatist attitude of me.
Yes. So,
I'm going to do it.
So you're talking about what you're planning on honoring him is that, I mean, can you talk about what the plans are for that?
Yeah, I would go there and I would obviously speak on his behalf. I would give him some recognition and some rewards, basically on behalf of the people that grew up, loved, and enjoyed video games, considering he was the founder of Namco. And every one of us, as long as we've been alive, he was the founder of Namco and, again, considered the godfather of video games. And I was going to go there. I'd be on stage. And I'm sure you can imagine his signature pride, achievement, absolute love is Pac-Man. They called him the father of Pac-Man. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to go there and be available to everyone and basically on stage at the Tokyo Game Show, which I guess I love pressure. Yeah, there I would do what I want to do and speak what I want to speak in honor of him. You would just have to realize in 1999, the honor and kindness he bestowed upon me was something I still don't have a grip on. It was so kind and so much from his heart. And it was a struggle because I'm having a relationship and communicating with someone who doesn't speak English well.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And of course, I speak Japanese as well as you do. And so it was a real struggle. But every year that's gone on, I've come to appreciate more and more what it was he has done and the way that he treated me.
So the Tokyo Game Show, is that analogous to what we would have had here in terms of the older AMOA shows, or is it an industry show?
Well, an industry show, yes. Remembering the AMOA back in the day, you guys are too young. It was a show, it was an industry show, and players were not at all welcome. I mean, not at all. Now when you go to a show, there's very few, maybe there's no shows where the players aren't very welcome, where they're not welcomed with open arms.
Yeah.
So that same transition has happened in Japan. The Tokyo Game Show is flooded with players. Yes, every company is showing off their latest projects, what it is they're trying to push, what it is they're developing, what it is they hope to present. You get to have a sneak preview of that. And so it is a show that embraces industry people, what we call dinosaurs, and it embraces the players who enjoy the game.
So that makes me think of an introduction you made to me earlier in the week. And the question leading to that is that, I never thought of this. Do you think that shift is because in the days of AMOA shows, you were dealing with dealers and distributors? That's how they got their product out. They didn't care about the player.
Correct.
Whereas now that relationship is sort of removed. Correct. And it's producer right to the player.
Correct. There were exactly what you're saying is now the market is marketed towards the player. I'm sure to some degree, but I don't think Nintendo tries to schmooze somebody at Walmart as far as taking a game or system. I think they target the consumer. The consumer has tremendous demand for it, and Walmart's there to make money. Yes, they carry it. So I think you're right in that factor. But it did begin to change prior to that. The very first, in the earliest years, when I went to a show in 1983, this is me, picture me, if I can be bold enough to say, they had to sneak me in the show. I had a phony badge. I mean, it was a hostile environment. Players were not welcomed. As a matter of fact, the game developers tell me that even they weren't welcome. They developed a game, they got it, they presented it, it's packaged, here it is, and the attitude towards them was kind of, okay, you made the game, now go away, go back in your corner. And that's just so barbaric to me. I will say, and I like to say this every single time, the company that led the way, the first one to embrace players in the show and fought hard to allow players in the show was Activision. David Crane and Gary and Dan Kitchen, mm-hmm. They all worked for Atari. If you can imagine, they worked for Atari in the 1970s with all the options they had with Atari. And they walked away from Atari. I mean, Atari, you don't walk away from Atari then. They walked away from Atari in order to form their own company. That's just incredible. Mm-hmm. And I always give them credit because they were the first ones that welcomed players and thought players, their happiness, their competition, the interaction, they thought that was part of the future. Obviously, they were way ahead of their time.
Yes, they were. I mean, so did Activision in those early days, I mean, did they campaign within AMOA to change that, or did they take this mantle upon themselves and push for that change outside of the industry shows?
Billy, you said the key word, by the way. If you didn't notice Whitney's hat.
Oh, I'm a big actor.
Yeah. Now we're deep in.
I didn't notice his hat.
Yeah. Make the transition because my follow-up was going to prove that I was a dinosaur. So keep going.
Yeah. No, I was just curious, since you mentioned David Crane and the Kitchen Brothers and Activision, I was just curious as to just how did they accomplish that? Were they able to do that within the confines of the shows themselves, or did they have to begin their own shows, or how did they get the industry to start to change?
It was with an interview with David Crane when he told me that he had to go in and start a fight with the management of the convention.
Wow.
And said, no, this guy is coming in, he's part of my staff. This guy's coming in. He's part of my staff. I'm paying him. You're not telling me I can't bring him in here because he's a player.
Yeah.
And at the time, it wasn't me. At the time, I think the guy was, how do you make this argument? The guy was only 17. So, he's an employee. But he just had a vision of the future or what it would bring. They created the games that they created. Certain games like Pitfall, literally changed the landscape. Mm-hmm. But they created the games they played, and they were of the belief that the people, the general public, that they would enjoy seeing a game played to its full potential. They would enjoy seeing the success, and seeing good gameplay, whereas an operator is just interested in a quarter being dropped.
Yeah, just a coin drop.
Yep. And so that was the vision that they had. And that's what he told me. And it led to further things. I said, so you bring people in the show, you have them there, you show a game, you test a game's awesome, it's wonderful. I says, is that the game that's released? He goes, sometimes, usually it's tweaked. Then the game's released and you realize something's wrong. he told me a few horror stories where they've already sold 25,000 copies, and now they got to do like a recall, kind of like a car.
Yeah.
So it wasn't always easy.
Yeah.
So
I've seen footage of the old AMOA shows. This is kind of a little enlightening to me. It seems obvious to me that you would want, as a distributor, to take somebody in like a Billy Mitchell. Let's play these games. What do you think will help me make money as an operator?
Right.
And I've never heard that. I did not realize that was not allowed.
Yeah.
And apparently it was tracked to almost a militaristic degree for what you're describing.
Yeah, I just wouldn't have initially thought that as well, because the quarter is the customer, or essentially the customer provides the quarter. You would feel that they would have to appeal to the gamers, because ultimately that's the audience that they were selling to. It just feels so foreign, is what it does.
Yeah.
So I wanted to circle back to something real quick to prove that I'm a dinosaur, Billy. You had introduced me to someone earlier in the show, and she was a competitive, was it Street Fighter player?
Correct.
Yes.
And my mind instantly went to the arcade. And this circles back to continuing to promote individuals and push forward and welcome people in. It wasn't arcade. She was playing modern Street Fighter on console.
Here.
And
Yes.
little itty bitty lady, and one of is it best in the state or the U.S.? I can't recall exactly what her status was. But that was a little shocking to me. And again, to continue to push forward, bring people in, and everybody kind of work together for that same common thread that we have.
Correct. And the spirit that she would bring to the hobby would cause other people to embrace a greater spirit and more and more. And somehow, going back 40 years, that arcade manufacturers, distributors, that they didn't see that vision, to me is just like so barbaric. I mean, it's almost like, you old fart, you deserve to go out of business. And of course, many of them did.
Yep.
But what's funny is the girl he's speaking of, I've waited for her to show up here today because she said she would, and she's not here. I was going to introduce her to some people. And,
I've seen her.
Today?
Yes, I have.
Oh, good. So
she is here.
But she, speaking of dinosaurs, I had to give her a little bit of a lecture. She's talking about herself, and she says, well, there's two other girls that are really good. And I says, they're really good, but you're the best. She goes, well, I go, well, what? Where are they? Are they here? No. I said, the very first rule of competition is you got to show up. You got to be there. You got to take the heat. You got to pressure. Yeah. You got to look them in the face. And they're not here? No. So then you are the best. And I said, and if you're not your own cheerleader, no one's going to be.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I says, you can bet you wherever they are now, they'll have that same attitude towards you. And I had her, you're right. Yeah, I'm going to do it, man. Yeah, I had her all fired up, and then I made her bring me around the corner. So she pointed to where she would actually be competing, but also she does commentary, which is really, really fun. So to be honest, the commentary is, playing is fun. Winning is even more fun.
Yes.
But the commentary is the funnest part. It really is. The satisfaction you get with interacting with people. I could sit here and do this panel longer than you guys could stay awake. I could sit here and tell stories longer than you could keep your eyes open, especially you in the back. But not everybody.
So if you happen to catch, I'll go ahead. She looks completely different today. I guess, because there's cosplay events going on here. Her hair color is completely different today. And so she's a little unrecognizable.
She looked like she weighed about 80 pounds. Is she still about that?
Yes, but she looked like a totally different hair color, totally different. We'll find her later. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, she looked like
she's Marilyn Monroe.
She looked like she needed to have a guardian, a parent to bring her in because she's underage. And she said she was 39. And actually that was really neat because as we discuss things, we talk about the old days and what's new and happening. And at 39, she's old enough to understand the stuff we talk about, but young enough to interact there. She's at the right age to cross both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cujo Katie? Okay. Again, at a certain age, you're simply not going to deal with that which is new.
Yeah.
And at a certain young age, you're not going to relate to that which is old. But she fits like the right part, I think.
So, Billy, there's a table full of items here, and we've got a skateboard deck, we've got some posters and everything like that. Can you explain a little bit about?
Well, this is the easiest one here.
Oh, fair enough. The cards, yes.
Esports, more and more and more. And we say esports in the earliest days, there was no E, it was just competitive gaming. And competitive gaming, or the birth of esports, began in 1982 in November at an event for Life magazine in a small town in Iowa called Ottumwa. It's very well recognized and acknowledged that that was the first esports gathering. Well, it was funny because not that event, but at the same location a few months later, I'm at the event and a guy was there and he's taking pictures of various players, so-called, champions. And he had all the right questions. He said, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite TV show? What kind of music do you like? What's your hobbies? What else do you do? Because what he wanted to do was create trading cards for the gaming industry, for the people in the gaming industry, for anything significant in the gaming industry. And that idea died, gone. But many years later, the idea was picked up again. And just, you have baseball trading cards, which I guess are probably the most well-known. But I mean, there's football and basketball and so many other things. And I think esports is coming into every day a greater level of recognition and respect. And so now they have video game trading cards, which when we're out there, we've all done things significant enough to get cards commissioned on our behalf. So we can give you some if you like, but it's great because the things you do, it doesn't matter if you're an operator. It doesn't matter if you're a game player, competitor. It doesn't matter if you're a convention organizer. Whatever manner in which you contribute to the hobby, whatever way you manage to lay the groundwork for this time period where we are the first gamers, when it's put into a written format, when it's documented, be it by a trading card or something else, now it's history, and it's history that won't be lost. And 10 years and 50 years from now, just like with baseball, there'll be that trading card. And I just think it's super cool that esports or gaming has made its way to, or has begun to make its way to, a level of respect that all the major sports have. But it's just a spirit that we come across. When we go to an event, we try to do stuff like, yay, great poster. So they're available. But it obviously signifies the event. But what I like to do is, again, you take the event, you create it, you host it, you respect it, you have these, they're available to people. And what makes me laugh is I've done some big discussions where a guy raises his hand, one guy in particular, and in 1862, his great who knows what grandfather was 2 years old, and he won Barnum's baby contest, and he got a poster, and all them generations, it's still framed and on the wall of whatever descendant he has. And I think that's so cool, and I like to give people something to take with them, because the more awareness you have of what's going on, the greater you spread things. I said to these guys, a guy will open an arcade in town, and on the other side of town, another guy opens an arcade. It isn't going to hurt this guy. And this guy gets mad. I say, the guy's a knucklehead. What you try to do is you try to spread and bring a greater level of awareness, so more and more people realize it's there to enjoy, it's there to become, a part of your life, not take over your life like some of us. But it just brings a greater awareness. So that's why, we like to do these things. That's why I come here, at the table, and, there's been movies about video games and such. And so, we have the posters, and it's just really cool. But what he's talking about is, I guess there's beginning awareness, because the guy who does this for celebrities gets up there and he says, I'm making you 117 of these. And I go, wow, what is it, a piece of wood? And he said, no, it's a skateboard. And I guess, and he showed me on the internet, skateboard art is like a big thing, big collectibles. And he does it for celebrities and everybody else. And he says, we're going to do it. He goes, when you sign it, this would be number 4. You sign your name. He goes, you sign 4 of 117, because that's all that's going to be made. And he breaks, the mold is broke. And he picks 117 because Donkey Kong has 117 screens before you get to the end. That's why he chose that number. Glad it didn't have 1,000, but but anyway, it's just,
it'd be hard on everybody.
The more and more things spread outside of simply pushing the start button and playing the game, the more it causes interaction, the more it causes people to play with people, compete with people, or showcase people. It further embeds esports, into the world of sports. So,
well, I think it creates a more inclusive world. There's no doubt about it, and that's something that everybody, I think, benefits from. There's no doubt about that as well. Does anybody out in the audience have any questions for Billy? We're just doing a time check. We've got about 6 minutes left, so just wanted to open the floor and see if anybody wanted to ask a question.
I was going to say, I'm really good at this. He's going to ask a question, and then you're going to have to pull teeth to get any one of these people.
You're good, guy. I've seen you pop up on my social media feed, and I've seen some of your movies that you're in. So I'm a fan, big man. I would say, like, when you were competing at your pinnacle age in your 20s, to get
a few years ago.
Yeah.
You haven't reached your pinnacle yet, Billy.
What was your training regimen? How did you get that mechanical mindset to do what you do?
Well, I'm the first one to say that the old joke is you might find it hard to believe that I can be obsessive about things. But I was amongst a circle of friends who hardcore gaming. And my goal was, like any one of you, is to play better than they did. But when I was better than them, I started going to other arcades. And then when I went to other arcades, I found myself traveling all over. I remember when I was a teenager, my dad took us to the World's Fair. And in the car, we're riding there. And he rented an RV. Every time the RV stopped for reasons you stop, I would get out and run into the store, the rest area and everything else, to see the high score in the different games. And I thought, there was no score close to mine. And so, being obsessive, I started calling manufacturers, and nobody kept track of scores. And they would just say, oh, try calling the distributor. The distributor would say, try calling the manufacturer. Again, no interest in the player or interaction at all. Till finally I saw a publication, it was actually Joystick Magazine, where they had a scoreboard. And then it was a Sunday, and I couldn't wait. The magazine was out of Chicago. The editor lived in Chicago. He had a unique name, and I called directory since I got his name, and I called him at home. And nice guy, and he gave me the proper number to reach the proper people. And it's that led me into Life magazine, to that event, to being invited to that event. But what is it that kicked me off? When I went to Life magazine, I was going there, and I was one of what was considered the 18 best players at the time. You could argue that any way you want, okay? But that's what it was thought to be. And it's the kind of thing when you walk in the room and you look around and you wonder if you really belong there. Okay, these are the 18 best guys in the world, and I'm one of these guys. And it's just like a silent moment you have in your head. And I'm the very, very first one to tell you over and over and over again the good fortune that I've had. I have. But there at that event, I absolutely stole the show. There at the event, in front of the cameras of Life magazine, I did the first kill screen. I had done it once before by myself, but I did the first publicly witnessed kill screen. And when I'm in the arcade and not one single game is being played, you could hear a pin drop, and I turn around and every one of 18 people is staring at you, and all the lights and cameras are staring at you. I mean, that put me in a competitive gaming world that I never left.
Can you expand on kill screen for those who don't know what it is?
Yes. Well, you know your stuff. You want to get a chair up here? What are you doing?
I just know what I've seen on the video.
No,
it's a good question.
Donkey Kong, it goes 117 screens, and it just really basically just collapses within itself, and 117 is not a playable screen. And so it's been dubbed the kill screen, because at that time at Life magazine, I got there on my second guy, and nobody had ever seen it. Nobody knew what it meant. And I had seen it the one time prior to. And so the kill screen is basically the end of the game. Well, the game came out in 1981. This was 1982. It was less than a year later, but I had made it to the end of the screen. But just to show you how significant it was, the first public kill screen was November of 82. The next public kill screen was June of 2005. So that's why I say I'm the first one to talk about the good fortune I've had. And you might say that it's good fortune. You might say it was cursed, because from that moment, I was just obsessed that I was going to be the best, and nobody was going to beat me. And I saw the players there. They were the smartest guys you ever seen in your life. I mean, if you put them in a round room with a quarter, they would find a way to put it in a corner. I mean, they were sharp, but I knew that I could outwork them. And some of them I'm still friends with today. But many of them, they really were that good. But from that point on, that regiment, every time there was an event, no matter what, I was at the event. I never had an excuse. I was never tired. I was never busy. I was never that I couldn't make it. So many guys at that event, guys that I'm still friends with today. Oh, no, I can't go. I've been gone for 2 weekends. I can't. I mean, I don't mean to sound funny. I mean, he's 17 years old. He's 18, or he's just out of school. What do you mean you can't? You got responsibilities or something? That's why I was so fortunate.
So let me ask Billy. I've heard bits and pieces of, that story, what brought you to Life magazine and that group of people and together. I've heard that before, but in kind of concert with what you were talking about earlier. How did they know who was the best 18 or so?
Right. How do they know? That's why I say,
exactly.
You could argue it either way. But at the time, people were submitting their scores and their achievements and such, and they were submitting it to Joystick magazine. It was then passing it on to Walter Day. And you had to show up and you had to perform. There were some of those 18 guys that did not perform. And there were some that performed. I mean, they mesmerized you just watching them. So you're right. There were duds in the group. And I think if I had left there without having the good fortune of achieving what I did, I might have been considered one of those duds. But it was a big deal because when I went there, the high score I had was 886,000. There was a guy claiming 1.4 million. And I said, the guy's lying. I mean, he's lying. He's a nice guy. I was friendly with him, but I said he's lying. You know what I'm talking about. So, so anyway, and he is a nice guy, and I'm friends with him today. And so I'm on the phone. I'm talking to him. I'm trying to meet up with him. And now I'm at Life magazine. I got him pinned. He can't move. We played a game of Donkey Kong. He went first, actually. He got 190,000 on Donkey Kong. And just to tell you, anybody in this room, in any arcade in the world, gets 190,000 on Donkey Kong, you would be the center of attention.
Yeah, it's a difficult game.
Every single eye would be on you.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what he got. I played after him. He played 190 on his game. I got 849,000 on my first guy. So that's the good fortune that came my way. And like I say, if I didn't have that game at that time, at that event, then I don't know, I might have just went off somewhere else. But because I had it, I was going to run with it. So speaking of good fortune, we've pulled a Pac-Man machine out front
in the gaming hall. What are the plans for that? I think we're getting it set up, and so
auction it off or something?
we could do that. Yeah. Brent. Well, it's not mine and it's not Brent's, but we'd be happy to auction it.
Well, I have to have it perfectly level for him as well.
In 1999, I played games to a ridiculous degree until about 1986. And then I just didn't. I mean, I couldn't play video games and be a screwball my whole life. You can now, though. But I couldn't, and I went on to establishing a career and all those things, eventually a family that we should do. Make sure you guys all do that. But then in 1999, video games are about 20 years old. And just like a car, it's 20 years. Now it's a collectible. Now it has renewed interest. Now it has renewed media coverage. And so Pac-Man suddenly was in the news again. Again, I had the good fortune, the games that I was good at were the most popular games. If I tell you he has the world record on bomb jack, nobody cares.
Brent, do you really?
You don't know that?
No,
But
I didn't know. I had no idea.
The show, you weren't aware of that?
So
No, I had
what
no
happened
idea.
was I knew the secrets to a perfect score, me and a friend of mine, and nobody else knew them. Nobody. We shared them with Walter Day, and that was all. And every few years, somebody would come by and say, "Oh, I can do a perfect score." And Walter would put him on the phone with me or me and my friend, and I'd ask him a handful of questions nobody knows the answer to. And just, yeah, okay, get rid of that guy. The guy's just looking for attention or whatever. And then it was 1999, and Walter says, "I got these guys from Canada." He goes, "They say they can do a perfect score. They say they're that good." I says, "Yeah, another one." So I called my friend, and I said, "Hey, we're going to do a conference call with the guys from Canada." And he goes, "Okay." Walter puts us on the phone. We all say hi. And I asked them a half a dozen questions that nobody in the world knows the answer to. Nobody. There's no luck. There's no guess. There's nothing. There's no logic to it. And I asked him those half a dozen questions, and he fired at me a half a dozen answers just the way I would have answered them. And with a moment of silence on the phone, I said to Walter, I says, "Yeah, these guys are for real." And they have the knowledge, therefore the ability to get a perfect score. So suddenly, all them years since 1983 of sitting on my hands and not doing a perfect score just because I was lazy, now I am under the threat that this Canadian guy, one in particular, was going to beat me to the punch. Well, he showed up. You could Google Pac-Man Captain Canada, and you'd see him. He shows up, Captain Canada. He shows up with a cape. I mean, he's a nice guy. He is. But
everybody has to have the thing.
yeah, I was not going to be Captain America. This was the best you're going to get from me, right?
Yeah.
So that's where this was born. It wasn't a 9/11 thing. This was 1999. And so we had the race for the perfect score. And gee, I forget the question you brought us. But anyway, it was that which led to the perfect score, which led to all the media attention on the 20th anniversary or thereabouts of, again, good fortune. 4th of July weekend, no bombs went off, no planes crashed. There was nothing in the news. So when it went on the wire, it was picked up. It was picked up by countries and languages you never knew existed. I mean, I got overrun. I was actually on a cruise, and they actually found me on a cruise ship, interviewing me. And then that phone call came from Nintendo to take me to the Tokyo Game Show that I told you guys about. And there, on stage, Masaya Nakamoto, the godfather of video games, he said, obviously he could not be prouder of all this attention that Pac-Man was getting. That's what created the bond we had. He considered it a gift that I gave to him. And I'd like to think I did. The truth is, it was good fortune. If those guys hadn't come along, I wouldn't have finally buckled down to do it. And if I hadn't done it, if something big was in the news, it stole the news on that 4th of July weekend, nobody would have heard about it. And he wouldn't have, and it wouldn't have made any contact. But all those worlds collided together to bring me the good fortune that it did. And he said, in Japan, he owned 3 movie studios. And it was his prediction that this event was going to cause a resurgence or a rebirth or a reinterest in classic gaming. And I thought nothing of his statement. okay, boy, was he right. After that, film crews started to follow us. Many. We had 7 following us at one time, just filming everything we did collectively as a group, all of us. And it eventually led to some of the films that you guys are aware of. And those things only helped further solidify competitive gaming, some of what goes on, now today.
So, Billy, you mentioned the gift that you had given him. From his perspective, was it honoring him that you had learned his creation and understood his creation to such a degree that you could play the perfect game? Was that the...
No, I think the gift to him was the cultural impact that Pac-Man had in the world. And again, Pac-Man had its impact in the 1980s, but at the 20th anniversary at that time, coinciding with the fun event I did, it really launched. You can find, like Pac-Man everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I sat there and I talked extremely personal with him and his inner circle of people. The knowledge that I had, what I brought to them, they were totally in the dark about. They had heard a story here or there. They had never seen anything. And it was such an emotional interaction that he and I had. I never spoke of it ever publicly. And then eventually in 2015, I met with one of his colleagues, Toy Awatwani, and I was on a stage just like this. And he spoke of exactly what Masaya Nakamoto spoke of. He revealed the emotion that involved all that. So because he did, now I feel comfortable doing it. Otherwise it was too personal. I wouldn't share it with anybody. So, I know what it is. So we're going to leave here, and I would already be doing it. But we're going to leave here. I'm going to go out there, and we're going to see if I can hit that split screen. They said they don't like the term kill screen because Pac-Man's supposed to be fun and not shoot, kill. So we'll see if we can go ahead and hit the split screen. Actually, I know I can.
And we're going to be doing that just right as you walk into the larger gaming area. So we've got...
You walk in, you turn left.
To walk in and turn left, yeah. We'll have the Pac-Man machine set up, projector on the wall, so everybody come out and support and take a look.
And when I play, if you come up alongside of me, if you talk to me, if you interact with me, it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't. If I die and I blame it on you, it's just an excuse. It is. So, and I will need somebody to blame it on, so please interact. I'll be there, and these guys will be there, and my wife will be there, and so that's all.
All right. Any other questions?
See, I told you it was only going to be one. Yes, sir.
I was on one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You and I played a little Pac-Man earlier.
Yes, earlier. You made me look like shit. Seriously, I thought I was actually doing something because it was because when I was growing up playing, I haven't really played Pac-Man. I was more of a Mrs. Pac-Man, and I was more like a laundry.
Oh, I can do that too.
Yes. And I bet you can. So, but the thing is, though, my question is having all that attention towards you, what made you have to realize that to be okay, it's game time. I have to let the world know who I am and where I'm standing. When was the switch for you to go killer instinct? Basically, is what I'm asking.
I would say that I walked into Life magazine with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Who is this guy to walk in there and say that he's better than me? What story is he telling?
Because I have the same mentality when I've been playing games and stuff like that.
Right.
Because I was at the time, RIP, but Rim Royale was one of the top competitive games of Battle Royale at the time. Until shit happens. So it was just the thing of being a target, And I feel that when you're 100% target about everyone knowing the world because they know who you are, they know how you work, they know what type of skills and mentality that you're in. So the next thing is just when you put yourself in that predicament, when you put yourself in that predicament, did you have to like literally ignore everybody that was just surrounded by you to focus on that one thing? Or was it more of it just like, I greet everybody a little bit because you know who I am? It's like, oh, hey, like, you know, hey, fuck you, but I'm gonna go play the game. So it's like, was it like one of those mentality, or was it just like, I'm here, I'm going straight to the game, I'm gonna do what I'm here to do, and I'm out and I'm out. Like, how was it like?
Yeah, well, I think I understand what you're saying. I think it's the latter. First of all, sometimes I'll read something on the internet where someone will say, oh, I grew up in South Florida. Oh, man, yeah, we used to go to the arcade, man. Yeah, Billy was there, man. We had our inner circle. The inner circle was two guys, me and my buddy. Everyone else was on the outside. So it was completely laser focused. And about half the games that I was on top of the leaderboard, he was too. And we would fight back and forth and flip-flop. And about half of the games he played and I played were different. But no, with him, I always had a friendly interaction. We shared all our secrets, but we didn't have anybody else on the inside for two reasons. Number one is we just didn't want to. It was more of a distraction. But there were some people, I'd walk into an arcade, they're playing a game, and I just walk in there, they stop playing. They won't play in front of me. And years later, they told me, they go, I'm not playing in front of you. Well, why not? Oh, no, I'm not going to embarrass myself. I go, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean? I don't even play that game.
He really did. He walked away. I only play the game.
Yeah, so I think the latter where I had my buddy, and to be honest, it upsets me that I can't get him today to come to these events. Yeah, it makes me mad as hell, to be honest. And he's had every excuse in the book over the years. Now all his kids are grown up and gone. He retired. He doesn't even work anymore, and I can't get him to go. But I don't really know what to say. But in so many ways, it was, having a very small circle of friends. But, I don't want to lie to you. There was ego. I wanted to be the best. I didn't want somebody else. I wanted to help you any way I could, but I always knew that I could outwork you, and I would. There's a joke, and it is a joke. It's really not part of me, but someone will say, I don't get it. How did you figure that out? How did I figure it out? Because I'm Billy Mitchell. It's part of the persona, but there's, good fortune is really what it counts. I also know what my limits are. I could not focus and enjoy and excel because I would not love a shooting game, a space game, a fighting game. I like games that are methodical, that I have to outthink. I can play the other ones. I can certainly play them better than the average person, but I can't invest myself in them. Yeah, they're no fun, And what I like about the old days is if I showed up somewhere here and I played a game to a certain level, you would see something you could never see anywhere in the world unless you were standing behind me. Well, now with today's technology, you can go on a computer and you can go and zap right up to it. I don't like that. It steals my thunder. So it's true. So
is any other questions for Billy?
Billy, what's the game that you enjoy the most playing, and what game that you do play frustrates you most?
Okay, let's start with the frustrating part. I actually learned and got really good, world record good, at Miss Pac-Man before Pac-Man. It's different, it's more random, and I was able to do that without a problem. Then I took the logic that I had for Miss Pac-Man, applied it to Pac-Man, and I was able to get world record good. Currently, I go back to Miss Pac-Man, and it has all the same laws of movement and programming and everything, and I go to execute it, and I keep screwing up. So that's the one that frustrates me at the moment, but I'll get past it. But as I said to some of the people who were out there, every game has what I refer to as the infield. In Donkey Kong, you play the first 14 boards. When you reach the 15th board, you're on maximum difficulty, level 5.
Mm-hmm.
And once I reach maximum difficulty, yes, I enjoy it. Yes, there's adrenaline. Yes, I want to do it. Yes, I want to achieve. And those first 14 boards, I'd rather, I don't know, dig clams on a beach or something. You guys don't have beaches here.
It's like chopping wood. How about that?
But again, with Pac-Man, it's the infield is the first 4 boards. Miss Pac-Man 2. So I would say those 2 games I enjoy the most because I get to that level of maximum difficulty, and also because they're the most popular games. Therefore, they bring the greatest achievement of notoriety. Centipede's great. It's not Donkey Kong or Pac-Man. Burger Time is great, but it's not. These are all games that I can play world record caliber on. But those I enjoy the most because they give back the most. So.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Guy behind the camera. Come on, you're the.
What is your high score on Miss Pac-Man?
Yeah, you're like the right age to talk about this geek stuff, you know. I'm going to expand on his. What I hate, and every other real game player hates, and you guys better back me up on this. You take a game like Miss Pac-Man. It's true with Pac-Man. It's true with Galaga. And you hear people say, "Oh, I play Turbo Miss Pac-Man. That's where he runs really fast."
Yes.
And I mean, I hate it with a passion. And
Cannot
every
stand it.
serious game player hates when a game is taken like that and that's done.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fun for people to just play and have fun, but not in a competitive world. There's a group of us, we call it Motorcycle Pac-Man, because there's a bicycle race and everybody's riding, and this guy gets to ride a motorcycle. That's what we call it, Motorcycle Pac-Man. But so on the real Miss Pac-Man, the hard one, the one where they run you down, it's 904,000. That goes all the way to the end, and that game has 134 boards before it collapses, as we say. I had the world record on that, and my buddy scooted in front of me, so temporary arrangement. But he's a good guy, he is. So there's about a half a dozen of us, like in Pac-Man, that are here. There's 2 of us that are here. The other guy, the guy from Canada, Mr. Captain Canada, he would have gotten a perfect score even if he never met me, if we never interacted. He really is that good. You'll notice when I sign something, I'll say thanks. I put like ... No, I put ... I put 9 dots. When I got my score, he basically, earlier, did what I did. He did it right in front of me. I'm looking like this. And he came up 9 dots short of a perfect score. So I can send him an email, say, yeah, I'll check on that and I'll get back to you. I don't put ... I put ... I'm just digging it in.
Twist the knife.
I mean, he would have, how history would have been different.
And Billy, that's why I love interviewing you, because
I tell the truth.
Well, no, there's that, yes, but every time there's a little nugget like that,
Yes.
That comes out.
That comes out.
Yeah. But what I was going to say was, he is that good. But the next guy after him who achieved it is a guy that I helped, the next 2 guys, and those guys shared it with other guys. So I can proudly say that number 2 guy gets his credit. All the other guys, the knowledge was shared, and I'm happy to say that. And there's about that same half a dozen guys in the world of Miss Pac-Man that are on that caliber. And as far as players that cross in both worlds, there's 3 of us. So, and the scores range from 933 to 904. So.
Well, Billy, I know the next panel is about ready to start. They're staging outside. So any last...
Lock the door.
Lock the doors. Any last minute questions while he's here? Because as Whitney mentioned, he will be right inside the game hall, right there to the left. We're going to have the Pac-Man.
And you don't have to be bashful. One thing I like that they did here is when I play, there's like 5 people who can look. But if they project it above the game, you can stand very comfortably. I mean, 100 people can watch. So that's good.
Well, Billy, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Round of applause for Mr.
Thank you for your time. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Appreciate the questions as well.
I was bamboozled a little bit. I was told that we were having a panel discussion, not that they were going to question me.
Well, Billy, we've played this game before. And
I win.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you coming in here. Thank you.
Thank you all.